I was born in Vermont. I was born in Pollock. Yeah. And I graduated from high school in 39 or 59. Yeah, come on. And I bought the farm in 60. And I've been here 50 some years. And Vermont is a great place to live. I do dish dairy, yes, and some maple syrup. Yes. I need to get up at 4:30 in the morning and milk cows, and then at 3:30 in the afternoon you milk them again. That's about it. I don't know what we do with the cows, but my son and I, we do all the cropping. We put the corn in the hay. And we have hired help for the cows into the parlor and milk them. Yes. And then they pick it up every day and take it to Middlebury to Cabot cheese. The best cheese there is.
We're starting a sweet potato business. This is our third year in business. We grow organic sweet potatoes. Our business is mainly wholesaling sweet potatoes throughout the state to health food stores. I guess you'd call them health food grocery stores. So places like in co-ops, I guess, throughout the state.
So we're on an old subsistence farm. It was traditionally a subsistence farm in Vermont here, and we're trying to keep that in terms of scale. Our main business is produce. We grow 5 acres of produce, and then we are currently selling about 70 half gallons of milk a week. We do raise feeder pigs and sell piglets, and we also do some sugaring.
The legislatures work for the farmers in Vermont for one thing. They're all, seems like Leahy and all of them they seem to help the farmers. And then we have that land use.
There's also a thing that has been helping farmers, or it promotes farming. It's called the Vermont Land Trust, where farmers can go and buy land at agricultural value, which is the value of what the fields are. It's not just the view and the home, like the house on there. It's like you're buying it for the soil and the amount that you can farm it. So that really is a big help and a push in the right direction for the state, because it promotes young farmers as well as older farmers that are new to farming and can give them kind of a boost. So that's unique about Vermont. Other states are doing it, but it's not as forward because Vermont is such a liberal state. It's able to do that.
The Vermont Land Trust is very active, and they help. Part of it, I guess, the whole state. People in the state respect working landscapes. They want to conserve working landscapes. That makes a unique opportunity for poor people like Brooke and I to actually buy a farm and start a farm. And so the Vermont Land Trust is part of that, in that they helped conserve this land, which meant we were able to buy it at an affordable price. Start our business. So they have a subsidy that they help pay for the certification fees. So for a farm like this, it's in the $600 to $700 a year range, and they cover maybe 45% of that. I don't remember. So that's how they make it easy. That's how they help. The state does, because there's people work together to try to solve some of the problems that everybody's facing on their own farm. So you can ask questions and share information. Anything from like labor laws to equipment fixes or parts. They have all sorts of, and so that's one way that Vermont is, I think, is unique. I don't feel like you're in it alone in Vermont. Everybody's kind of pulling together. They were open to anything. They were just kind of very willing to accept anybody for whatever. So I felt like that was unique. And then, I guess the other part of Vermont was the progressive nature of Vermont.
There's a lot of grants. There's There's websites with the Vermont State of Ag that's put up websites, and there's funding through financing your landscape. A lot of grants that are available for farmers as yearly that come up that farmers can apply for. So they're really trying to build up the infrastructure of the small farmer and the infrastructure of the new farmer so that we can get a little bigger. But I know Vermont does tend to lead some of the ways, like the GMO labeling bill and things like that, where they'll push the edges a little bit, push the margins, and try and get, not too afraid to kind of get things going, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's some groups that are really reaching out to beginning farmers and small farmers to keep the rural fabric of the state. The number of dairies, grade A dairies, is rapidly decreasing, but the overall number of farms is increasing, which is good. I'm not so sure how if it's more lenient or rigid in some things. There is some, the ban on manure spreading in the winter is hard for some farmers, but the issues with Lake Champlain are bringing that to attention, that we really need to pile manure in the winter and so forth. But the push to have this idyllic vision of what Vermont is, the quaint villages with the small farms, I still think is very much present today.
There's a larger consumer base in Vermont for local products.
I have a lot of experience with local food. Yeah, I grew up where we made, we grew a lot of our own local foods, and so I've done that a lot, for our family, my husband and our family, for years, and still do it as a business and as a way of life, I guess.
Well, Vermont is a food hub for local foods, and that's basically meaning that you are able to get food from farms that are local and producing food that are products that are not going straight to stores or straight to the larger scale vendors. So you have the ability to get farm to table fresh food.
Buying local foods helps support your local economy by keeping money local, basically, with farmers who grow food in your area, and then they also spend money in your area, and they pay taxes in your area. It can also be more nutritious because if you go to farmers markets and stuff, everything here today was harvested today. So the closer to harvest, the fresher and more nutritious your food is.
I think Vermont has more co-ops probably than any other state. And I think it also has one of the oldest co-ops, the Adamant co-op. So it is, Vermont is sort of synonymous with the idea of co-ops, so they're very, very active here. And they account for, I think I heard, $25 million of the economy in Vermont. So collectively, they have a huge impact, especially on the local scene. And I'd like to think that Vermont is more attuned to local food, and also people are more connected to their food. People here have local game suppers. They've always had game suppers, and they've always had potlucks. In Vermont, people are a little more connected to where their food comes from historically. Not in the sense of, if people say, well, a bunch of hippies moved up here in the 70s. It's really not the case. I think it's all throughout the whole population. So my take on it is that Vermont is quintessentially a bunch of foodies anyways, where they just love really good, clean food. And I think that traditionally has been always something that's been in Vermont.
The geography of Vermont kind of poses difficulty for people being able to get food. So it is really helpful that there are so many farms in such a close proximity. Kind of adds to Vermont's charm.
It's really hard in a rural area, especially a mountainous one with not really great weather all the time. But I think because of the geography and the fact that it was so rural, people really had to be a lot closer to their food source. They don't have the option of living in a real suburban area where they've got food all around them and they just jump in a car or on transit. So I think that's part of it, is the geography. I think has sort of formed this character called the Vermont citizen that is closer to their food.
Vermont is a community-oriented state, so there's a lot of local food movements that are supported. Vermont, I think whatever county you go into, you'll tend to find kind of a grassroots base of community people that are there to support the local foods and buy. A lot of farmers markets, things like that. Oh, I think it's all community driven. I think people like to be connected to their food and connected to their neighbors. They like the landscape, and it's kind of a way of saving the landscape. And, you know, in general, I think people in Vermont like to be healthy and outside. So it's all that piece of it. Kind of connects them in all those directions.
Lots of local farms. They're actually, the surveys that we've done, they're more interested in buying locally. They want organic, and they would love organic local, but given the choice of the two, they want local. So it's just really that rural thing, and then people needing to get together in order to survive and feed themselves, I think. And then everybody loves food. You don't have a lot of time to cook, but they make it a priority in their life and feel like it's really important for them to eat. Not only for health reasons, but political reasons. There's a lot of mission statements of various co-ops. They're probably the first socially responsible companies. I mean, there's actually determinations now where they say you're a socially responsible company, but I think co-ops were doing it for a really long time. So people want a place, they want to be able to go to a place where they can vote with their wallet. So by the foods and the choices that they make every day, and by what they put on their plate is basically a vote. So we get a lot of people that are pretty positive, you know, coming in here and saying, hey, I'm doing what I can because I have the choice to put on my plate every day is basically how I want the world to be.
We moved back, one thing that we really missed about Vermont was that working landscape, where you go down the road and people are living on the land and working on the land, making their living from the land. And I think that's probably that's what brings people to Vermont. It's one of the things that bring people to Vermont is that seeing people working and living from the land is an important part of Vermont's story. And I never really think that we do it, but apparently we are doing it. And you asked before about why Vermont, but I think a lot of it ended up being because Vermont made it possible. And, Vermont was one of those rare places that this could, we could start a farm business and go for it.